All right, so let's cover the 2024 cold email deliverability protocol that we're using for ourselves, for our clients. And specifically, let's cover like the six main practices that we're going to be using to maintain a 98% email deliverability like across the board for our clients, right? So let's just dive into it. So the first one's going to be diversified infrastructure. And what I mean by this is like email infrastructure. So things like Gmail, Outlook, Zoho, private infrastructure, things like that. And so what we use for ourselves is we want to use a mix of Gmail, Outlook, and if you have access to like a private infrastructure or if you're willing to test it out, something like Superwave, what's the other one? Like Mailforge, things like that. We recommend Superwave. That's what we use for a lot of our clients. They're reliable. But the thing is, you want to just diversify because anything can happen to any of these service providers, right? You know, Superwave could just die out of nowhere. I mean, like the odds of that happening is pretty low, but or Gmail can have some massive ban. There was like a big fluctuation with bounce rates recently with Gmail. That's just like a natural occurrence. Um, but yeah, you want to be prepared for that, right? So it's good to have a mix of everything. And what we want to do is we want to sort of rotate new inboxes every 3 to 6 months because naturally, even if you're doing everything correct, a lot of the inboxes are just going to burn after about 3 to 6 months, right? So we want to get new inboxes loaded in there, every 3 to 6 months. Next thing's gonna be script optimization. So this is gonna be things like making sure you're using a lot of spin tags. Spin tags is actually crucial. I mean, if you're sending more than like 500 emails without any spin tags at all, like I guarantee you're gonna be landing in spam pretty fast, right? So heavy spin tags, every single sentence, like almost every single word within our email is fully unique. Minimizing spam words. So things like words like free, offer, um, guarantee, even using like numbers or the money symbol. I mean, the thing is, if you have a few spam words in your email, like that's completely fine. But if you have a ton of them, then that could really start to hurt deliverability. So we just want to limit those as much as possible. There's a bunch of tools out there they can use. I think one of them is like spam tester. I forgot. There's like some. Yeah, there's you can just look it up. There's a bunch out there. I think Smartly they actually have their own integrated spam word finder. So that's another reason why you should Smart Lead. You can see the spam words from there. The other one's gonna be using AI personalization. So, and the reason why this is good because this kind of ties in with spin tax is that well, number one, it's gonna boost reply rates, and the way cold email works is sort of like a snowball effect, to where if you have bad reply rates, that's actually gonna hurt deliverability, which is gonna make replies worse, and then hurt delivery more, and it's just gonna be like a downward spiral. Whereas on the flip side, if you have a good reply rate, that's going to help deliverability and that's going to boost your reply rate further and it's just going to be upward spiral, right? So obviously if you have really good personalization with AI, then that's going to help reply rates, which can help deliverability. But the other thing is going to also be it's going to add a lot of script variability, right? Because each of these AI lines is coming out or whatever form of AI personalization you're using, it's going to be a completely different sentence every time, right? So that will help with spin text as well. And of course, this is a pretty known one. Just stick to plain text. Avoid any HTML. So next is going to be rotation and warm up. And what I mean by inbox rotation is so what we do for our clients is we get around 200 inboxes, and what we want to do is we want to only use about like 100 of those inboxes per month, and switch between these different inboxes per month. So like we have one set of inboxes for that's 100 inboxes. We use that for 1 month, and we have another set of 100 inboxes just warming up on the back end. And month over month, we want to rotate between these two sets, right? So that's what's going to do. It's just going to sort of lengthen the lifespan of the email accounts that we're using, because again, as I said before, all these email accounts, even if you're doing everything right, they burn pretty quickly. So we want to just rotate those inboxes. It does cost a bit more, but it's sort of worth having that longevity, right? Versus having to set up new email accounts like every month because you're just burning them nonstop, right? Or you're having it in the back end, and then you're screwed, right? Because you're sitting there, all your email accounts are burned. like to set new email accounts, and that takes however many days. And then also we want to warm up the email accounts, of course. I mean, everyone knows this. Thing is, with some private infrastructures like Superwave, you don't have to wait the whole 2 warm up period to send emails. But if you do wait that 2 week warm up period, it's still going to help. Like in theory, if you set up Outlook accounts or Gmail accounts, you can send emails from day one. Like if you sent like 1 or 2 emails, cold emails per account per day, I mean, like you could get away with that. But in the ideal world, you want to wait the 2 week warm up period, right? And essentially what more buzz. This is all automated now, right? It's just like targeted outreach, and it's like in a sort of pool of other email accounts that are all emailing each other to just build that reputation, right? And then from there, we want to actually ramp up the email accounts. So once that 2 week warm period is complete, we want to warm up or ramp up the email accounts daily for the next 1 or 2 weeks, right? To, you know, make show the sending providers that you're not just like having a drastic change in sending practices, right? And then what we do after that is we want to obviously like monitor deliverability. We don't want to just like have it run and you know if things just break, it is what it is. You gotta actually know what's going on. So every 2 weeks we want to like audit the performance, see how things are going. In Smartly, they added a lot of features to where you can actually monitor email performance, make sure everything's working all right. You can use mailtester.com to see if you're landing in spam or not. You get a score on how your email accounts are performing. So you want to run one of those every 2 weeks. Also, what we have in place is automation to where if a campaign is just out of nowhere getting really high bounce, how excuse me, high bounce rates, we want to pause that campaign, right? So then what we want to do after that is we want to actually monitor the campaign bounce rates. So if you notice a campaign is just getting really high bounce rates out of nowhere, because that's been happening a bit recently with the issues with Google or Gmail, we just want to pause that, right? And we pause it. We have automation set up to where if the bounce rate's over 2%, then we just pause the campaign. And then of course you want to make sure your lists are clean, double verify them. You can use Scrubby to double verify them. There's also, what is it called? It's from the Magically Genius guys. They have a verifier now that also verifies the catch-alls, so you can do that. But yeah, always make sure your lists are clean. The next is gonna be how you actually set the domains, the domain management. We always use Porkbun. We've seen there's the most reliable domain registrar. They're also cheap. They're really good for cold email. And then we want to make sure we're only using .com domains, right? Another thing I didn't add this to the slide, but another thing is also I notice a lot of people will use. So let's say they're creating a Google Workspace with 100 email accounts. A lot of people use like the same name over and over and over again. So let's say we have like John Doe at google.com. They'll use that same name over and over and over again. And that's actually kind of you kind of want to avoid that. You want to actually use different people's names because that's going to just like the sending provider's going to think like, okay, why does John Doe have 100 email accounts of himself? Like that doesn't make sense. No normal team member on a team is going to have just 100 email accounts, right? So ideally, like you have multiple people's have email accounts under multiple people's aliases, right? And also within those aliases, you want to switch up the words. Like you don't want to have John at X domain over and over again. You want to have like John.L, John.doe, whatever. You want to switch up the aliases a lot too. That's just an important one for the out accounts. And then the actual campaign settings. So of course you want to turn off open tracking. You don't need to manage open tracking. It's useless. Opt out. You want to have an opt out option. So like you just add a part of the bottom of your email, just saying like, P.S. If you're not interested in receiving any more emails, just respond with no. The creative one I saw people doing was like as an opt out option. They were saying like, hey, if you're not interested, just for taking your time, we'll send you X free resource. Just respond yes, and we'll send you that resource. That's another unique way of doing an opt out, but you're also getting like positive responses in the back end of that, and that could lead to a potential conversion too. And of course, no links or pictures, right? None of that. So yeah, to summarize, deliverability it's literally the key to results in 2024. Like so many people are struggling with deliverability right now. Definitely become the hardest it's ever been. But yeah, it's like everything must be dialed. Everything that comes in this video, you have to be doing, or else your results will suffer severely. There's nothing more annoying than having a deliverability issue. Because you have the best campaigns, create insane lead list, do amazing AI personalization, perfect scripts, perfect offer. But if you're just not letting the inbox, then none of it matters, right? So you got to make sure all it's in place. So yeah, do everything I said. I mentioned this video, and there should be no issue with maintaining a 98% deliverability across the board. So hope this helps. Cheers.